The journey to Alaska begins right now. Right now.
In case you missed our last video, we're spending the next 5 months or so driving from Austin, Texas up to Alaska, and we left Austin early this morning, but we're not leaving Texas quite yet. It takes what feels like forever to get out of Texas, so we thought we'd have a little bit of fun along the way. We have a jam-packed 3-day road trip ahead of us, and today we are driving 6 hours to Alpine, Texas.
We're about halfway to Alpine and we are stopping for brunch. This is probably, I think, the 4th or 5th time we've stopped. We kind of drank too many liquids before we left, but we are making our go-to meal for these travel days, which is a Southwestern chopped salad from Trader Joe's and their traditional carnitas. All right, about 3 more hours till Alpine.
We made it to Alpine, which is a small town in the high desert of West Texas, close to the popular town of Marfa, and is a good jumping off point to visit Big Bend National Park, which we aren't visiting this time, but visited a few years ago when we first started our channel.
And while Marfa is probably the most popular West Texas town, Alpine is pretty cool to visit. It has an authentic small Texas town feel, a downtown area with some murals, local shops and restaurants, Sul Ross State University, and views of the Davis and Glass Mountains. There are just so many cool, neat, beautiful murals all over this little town.
Even the dumpsters have murals on them.
You okay? Oh no!
Well,
Splat.
clearly we need this coffee because we don't have our stuff together, but we just came to a really cool coffee shop in town called Cedar Coffee Supply. And I spilled part of my precious drink, but this coffee shop, I'm about to do it again. This table's super wobbly. But this is a really, really cool coffee shop. We always love when small towns have like super high quality, kind of trendy coffee shops. The inside of the place is super nice and kind of like a minimalism design. And the coffee looks super good too. Hopefully not too good, because then I'll be extra sad that I spilled some of it. Man.
Thankfully she spilled her own coffee. Jeez. But we both got lattes. She got a salted caramel, which is classic Kathryn, and I got a white chocolate latte, which is not classic for me. Oh, but it's classically delicious. That is so good.
It's gonna become a classic.
Yeah.
Oh, that is the perfect amount of saltiness and sweetness. We are really tired right now, so this is very much needed, especially because we're going on a short hike next, and right now we'd rather just go to sleep.
One of the top things to do here in Alpine is to hike up Hancock Hill, which starts at Sul Ross State University, and it has an interesting item at the top that we're gonna hike up to. We made it to our first stop, although this isn't what I was referring to before. This is pretty dang quirky. This is the bicycle tree. I think I might pick one out to ride back down to the van. Maybe this tricycle laying here.
The real item that we came up here for is this desk. Not only is this desk super unique and probably has the best view of any desk I've ever sat at, or sat on, I guess, at least, it has a really interesting story behind it. So back in 1981, Sul Ross student and track runner Jim Kitchen used to come up here all the time and one day thought to himself, it would be really cool to have a desk up here to study. So he got two of his friends to help him lug this desk up here, and soon he was coming up here all the time. He would occasionally write down some thoughts in a notebook, and then one day someone wrote back in the notebook, which started this big tradition of having a notebook up here. There's all these notes just in this drawer, and now people come here, write all their thoughts. And this desk, not this exact one, I've heard they've changed it a few times, has been up here for 40 years now. And as you can see, people love to leave their mark, sit on it. It's a very cool and unique, unexpected thing here in Alpine. It says this notebook was left here on December 7th, 2021, so it's really new. And it has so many messages in it. What should we write? Journey to Alaska. Boom! We have now left our mark at the desk. We drove a beautiful 40 minutes to near Fort Davis to sleep at our rest area for the night, cooked up some dinner, another one of our favorites from Trader Joe's. We promise this video is not sponsored by Trader Joe's. We just love Trader Joe's, and we're sad we're not going to see one for maybe like 3 or 4 weeks. But this is a shawarma chicken with 2 different sauces that they have at the store, and then some veggies. Tastes better than it looks, we promise. But we are going to devour this. We are so tired. We're going to hit the hay, and then tomorrow we're going to explore a little bit of this area.
First stop today in Fort Davis is the Fort Davis National Historic Site. For many years, this area was home to Mescalero Apaches, Comanches, and Kiowa Indians, and starting in the mid-1800s, travelers began to make their way through the area on the San Antonio-El Paso Road with hopes of reaching the goldfields in California. Their arrival caused tension with the Apaches, who targeted them and their supplies since resources were limited in the area, which caused the Army to create Fort Davis. In order to protect these travelers, many battles between the Mescaleros and troops continued for years before the Mescaleros moved to a reservation in New Mexico. So there's two versions of Fort Davis. There's a pre and post Civil War version, and during the Civil War it was occupied by Confederate troops for about a year, and then the Union troops took it over and destroyed most of it. So what you see now is the second version post Civil War of Fort Davis. And the fort is now considered one of the best remaining examples of a frontier military post in the American Southwest, and has 5 buildings that are restored to the 1880s, as well as 100 ruins and foundations.
For breakfast, we had beef hash, dry sliced bread and coffee. For dinner, sliced beef, dry bread and coffee. For supper, coffee straight, just dry bread and coffee. The food was very poor.
Another important part of Fort Davis history was that from 1867 to 1885, Buffalo soldiers actually served here. Buffalo soldiers were black army soldiers who mainly served on the western frontier. Some historians suggest they got their name from Native Americans comparing their hair to the hair of buffalo. Their routine duties here included tending animals, constructing and repairing buildings, and they rode and walked thousands of miles pursuing the Comanches and Apaches.
Really cool unexpected thing about Fort Davis is that we keep hearing all these bugle calls, and they keep happening pretty randomly. We keep looking at the clock and we're kind of confused, but we just found this schedule and it tells you what each one means, and they happen at different intervals. And basically what a bugle call was a way that the commanders could regulate activities around the fort. So we just heard one that was the fatigue call, and the sit call should be happening any second now. They've been playing music for about 5 minutes now, and you can hear the commander speaking over the intercom right now. I think at some points you can hear like horse hooves and everything. It just really makes you feel immersed in this experience, like you're actually a soldier back in the 1800s living here.
Handful of trails at the park that take you up to this ridge, and we just took the very short and very steep hike up to this overlook, and the view walking up to it now, pretty cool.
You can see the ruins so much better from
yeah.
Up here. You just get to see the layout of what buildings used to be there, and you can't get that type of perspective from eye level. You have to be above. This
Gives you the bird's eye or drone's eye view.
Helps you really visualize what this place looked like at its peak.
Mm-hmm.
We've loved the mix of ruins, kind of restored buildings, but kind of falling apart, and then the restored buildings. It just kind of helps you see this place through like different timelines, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this park has been awesome. It's not very busy. There's so much to see and learn. We barely scratched the surface of what all there is to learn here, but in the view.
Yeah, this is really cool. Nice little cool feature, being able to get up here and see the surrounding mountains, not just the fort. It's a great view up here.
Just down the road from Fort Davis, actually so close that you can hike between the two, is Davis Mountain State Park, which overlooks the Davis Mountains, which is the largest mountain range here in Texas. There are a few different things you can do here. You can go for a hike, they have a lodge you can stay at, or you can drive the Skyline Drive Scenic Drive, which We were originally going to hike, but we're kind of tired and we have a long drive ahead of us later today, so we're just going to do the scenic drive and stop at some of the overlooks and hopefully see some awesome views.
This road is pretty dang steep. Skyline Drive was short but sweet. It was awesome to just be able to drive up here and get all those views. You can just see all the surrounding mountains. It's just beautiful up here. We actually never visited West Texas until we moved away to Seattle, and then we came back on a visit and then took a trip out here, and we fell in love with it then. We wish we could spend more time out here, and it's just full of gems. It's beautiful.
But for now, we are leaving the Fort Davis area and driving about 3 hours northwest to our final stop here in Texas, the city of El Paso, which is the westernmost point in the state and is located right on the US and Mexico border. We first visited El Paso almost exactly 3 years ago, and one thing that Adam and Kona got to do last time, but I didn't because I had to work, is hike at Franklin Mountain State Park. The state park is located just north of downtown El Paso and is said to be one of the largest urban parks in the entire US.
Last time Kona and I hiked the Aztec Cave Trail in the snow, which was a lot of fun, but this time we are hiking to the Tin Mines Trail, which is 6.6 miles, and it takes you to the only tin mine ever in the United States, which is pretty cool. But another fun fact about this this trail here, or fun, I guess, little twist, is you got to be careful where you step, at least off trail. So do not go off trail because there could be leftover unexploded munitions. A little bit of history about the mine. It was founded in 1909 and at least 27 shafts and trenches were dug. However, it was proven uneconomical when only 160 100-pound pigs of tin were recovered, and it was closed in 1915.
We're about 3.3 miles into the hike. The hike started out very just kind of rocky, but like a very steady incline. But towards the end of the hike, because we're really close, it gets really, really steep and kind of like that slick dirt. But we did find our first evidence, we think, of a mine. It's some like metal grating. We're not totally sure what it is, but we should be to the actual mine very, very soon.
So we've reached what we think is the end of the hike, or what it shows on all trails, and we're just kind of at this wash or this creek here. We're not 100% sure where this mine is, but I guess we'll keep looking around. We did read on all trails some reports, some people said they had trouble finding it, but some people said like, oh, it was super easy. So a little confusing.
We thankfully have one bar of service, so we were able to look into the hike a little bit more. And reading more reviews on all trails, it actually turns out that where that grate was that we said was the first evidence of the mine is actually how you get into the mine. There's an entrance over there somewhere, so we're gonna backtrack a bit. So if you're following the All Trails app, you don't wanna go to where the trail ends on the map because that takes you here. You just wanna stop a little bit before that.
All right, let's try this again. So when you're hiking up and you get to this little T, you can go left to the great looking deals, or you can keep going up. We figured you had to keep going up, so let's try this.
Not gonna lie, now that we are back here, This looks pretty obvious.
Pretty obvious,
Whoops.
yeah. But the deceiving thing is there's a little door that I saw on Google to get into it is on the back side of it, so it's not super obvious in that way. Cool.
Dang.
It goes way down there.
Dang.
This is nuts. Let's do this. Spooky.
Oh yeah, that's dark. Oh, it goes for quite a bit.
Big channel there.
This is amazing.
I don't like it. Hey.
What are you afraid of? Mountain lions?
Mountain lion coming to get me.
So we've mentioned before, but we love this YouTube channel called Ghost Town Living. It's a guy named Brent Underwood who lives in a ghost town and goes on mine explorations all the time. And this is really making us feel like we're Brent right now.
So he just goes through all these mines, miles and miles, just by himself with a better headlamp than this and multiple backups, but he just goes, it's completely dark. Like if you turn this off, it's nothing. Oh, whoa.
Oh wow, there's another room. It really keeps going, but I think we've gotten the experience.
I'm done. Let's get out of here. While we were there, we had the mine completely to ourselves, but as we were leaving, a group of police officers showed up and it looked like they had a bunch of gear with them, helmets, harnesses. So it looked like they were gonna do a little bit of spelunking in there. But this is a really cool feature of this hike. It's cool that you can just go and they leave it open for anybody to explore. There's also, we saw a picture of at least one other entrance into it. So if you have time and you wanna poke around, you can maybe find some other ways into it. But I'm getting hungry, we're both getting hungry, and I've had enough of dark places for today.
One of our favorite things about El Paso is all of the delicious food being located on the Mexico border. There's amazing Mexican food here. And on past trips, we've been to the very popular L&J Cafe, as well as a place called El Taquito. But today, you're trying a new spot called Kiki's Mexican Restaurant, and we're here for one item in particular, not this one. It's called Brisket Machaca.
Traditionally, machaca is a seasoned and dried beef, which is then rehydrated and then pounded into a tender texture. And actually, that's where it gets its name. Machacar in Spanish means to pound. It originated on the ranches in northern Mexico and it was served cold. But here at Kiki's, they warm it up right off the grill. Covered in cheese here, you get rice and beans. And then underneath here, looks like there's peppers. Ooh, a lot of cheese. Peppers. There's an egg in here somewhere. Here's some egg. Oh. This looks so good. Oh, the flavor on that is excellent. It's just got like a awesome, like tender, smoky, kind of delicious taste, very savory. A little bit of spice on the seasoning of the beef, but then like this creamy sauce kind of offsets a little bit of that spiciness. This is super good.
So since that dish has eggs in it, I decided just to get some brisket enchiladas with their green sauce on top, which is kind of like a cheesy green sauce. It looks delicious. I don't think they mess around when it comes to like making everything super saucy here, and I love things saucy. This is so good. And I have the brisket as well, and you can see that it's very like shredded looking. But I do need to try Adam's real quick. The meat almost has like a grilled taste in yours compared to mine. Yours tastes like kind of like it's been grilled a bit. So good.
stop in El Paso. We're at a unique spot called Casa de Azúcar, which means sugar house in Spanish. It's actually the home of a man named Rufino Loya who moved here to El Paso from Ciudad Juarez. The home didn't quite look like him and his wife's dream home, so he told her that he would start to fix it up. Starting in 1973, he began decorating the outside of the house by chiseling cement into different intricate designs, mostly inspired by their trips to Mexico. It took him 25 years to make it what it is today, and it got the nickname Casa de Azúcar because his creations look like something made out of sugar or like a wedding cake.
I am so mind blown that he did this out of cement. Everything is just so detailed and gorgeous, and this is honestly one of the sweetest and just most romantic gestures I've ever heard of someone doing.
After 3 days and over 600 miles, we are officially leaving Texas, and next up,
Camera setup, it's very heavy. We're gonna have killer muscles.
oh, halfway there. All right.
Living on a prayer.
Singing in the shower.
Yeah. Whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa.